Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Panos, Panay. I'm Vice President for Strategy and Innovation at Berklee College of Music, and I'll take the next few minutes to talk a bit about music and rights ownership and identity. Fun stuff. So this is the world's largest selling single. It's I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. Probably most people don't know that Dolly Parton is actually the writer of that song. And this is Taylor Swift. This is one of the biggest selling singles of today. These used to be rare events, and singles used to be rare things, right? Only a handful of artists got to put their music out there when most folks were growing up. And looking at your ages, I assume this only accounts for half the room. You all grew up in a different era. In this era, every day, there's 25,000 new songs that get uploaded on Spotify and streaming services just in the US alone. Worldwide, who knows? If you factor in YouTube and user-generated content, who the heck knows? Each one of these songs is created by an average of 8 different songwriters. Music today is more similar to open source software development than it is to 2 folks getting together in a room and writing a song. It's up from about 1.8 from 30 years ago in terms of the average collaboration. Each one of those songwriters has an affiliated music publisher who has a stake in the copyright. And then to make things even more complicated, in music there's 2 types of copyright. There is the underlying composition, which the songwriter and the publisher own. And then there's the actual sound recording. So something like I Will Always Love You, Whitney Houston's version is owned by one label, but Dolly Parton's version is owned by another label, and on and on and on. Every subsequent iteration of the song has different collaborators and different owners. This is just a very simple diagram of the way that one song makes money. A Taylor Swift hit could have as many as 400,000 different lines of revenue, and it could take as many as a couple of years from the moment that you hit play on Spotify to the time that she actually gets paid. And to make matters worse, depending on the country that this is coming from, there's over 50 different intermediaries between the consumer and the artist. Needless to say that because of the way that the music industry has evolved, there is zero interoperability of all these systems and all these databases that are meant to pass and exchange data from one source to the other or through the entire value chain of music so that accurate payments are in fact processed and then eventually find their way to the various owners. And to make matters even more complicated, the way that we're enjoying music is changing, right? Once upon a time, many of us in this room actually had to go somewhere and get a physical record and wait in line. Nowadays, gee, the world is speeding up. Everything fits in your pocket or even on your wrist. Music is just about everywhere, literally everywhere. It's in elevators and amusement parks and clubs and virtual reality headsets and intelligent assistants. The way we make music is changing. This is Bruce Springsteen, actually in a place that now Berklee owns called Power Station in New York City, one of the most iconic studios. You used to have to pay a lot of money to make music. Now if you're David Guetta, you can actually make it on your laptop from your private jet. Heck, all of you actually have an amazing studio and an instrument in your pocket, and it's called GarageBand, which is a free app on the iPhone that millions and millions of young 12-year-olds actually make music and put it out there on SoundCloud and all kinds of services. Even machines make music. This is IBM's Watson that collaborated with a very famous songwriter and created a song that charted in number 31 in the Billboard charts. And to make things even more complicated in terms of rights ownership, there's mashup. This is actually Danger Mouse, who mashed up the Beatles' White Album with Jay-Z's Black Album, and ta-da, there's the Gray Album. For real, you should listen to it. It's amazing. Once you put that out there on YouTube, and folks start sharing it or mashing it up even more, who owns the rights, right? Who gets the money? Does anybody get the money, or does Google get to keep it? I won't answer that if I were a music business person. So, this has led to a barren landscape of folks. This is Open Music, a project that we lead together with MIT Connection Science, where we brought together over 200 different entities to create a shared protocol of rights ownership. Almost every company in the music landscape has joined, including all the labels and streaming services, as well as big companies like IBM and Netflix. And our objective is to create open source standards for rights ownership identification, educating creators, and coordinating innovation across the industry, and providing a safe space for people to come together and experiment with new technologies like blockchain to identify rights owners. This is a 3-year project in the making. We're advancing open source implementations, so if you know good developers, we need them. Safe prototype build-outs that we are starting next in 2 weeks from now. And of course, our aim is to create an ecosystem of commercial implementations and applications up the stack. Hopefully, we'll get to shift the pendulum back to the creators, since they're the lifeblood of most of what we experience online. And this have us lead to a very fertile landscape for the music industry, and I would argue for society at large.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.